Good afternoon and welcome back to another session on my declassified Caribbean news channel and commentary also. And we welcome you to another live session for what is going to be an interesting program. Now, the title of the program for this afternoon is Jamaica's TCN deal and what we aren't being told, or what aren't we being told? That's the underlying question that we are here to unmask and to talk about in this afternoon's program. However, there are lots of things happening in the news. The BBC is reporting Starmer quits as Labour leader and paves way for the contest for new Prime Minister. We understand that the new Prime Minister has now been declared. If Keir Starmer is stepping down, Britain is now facing a leadership contest that could reshape the country's political direction. The question is not simply who replaces Starmer, but what this says about the state of British politics, the Labour Party, and the challenges facing governments across the Western world. I understand from reading this afternoon that Britain is having its seventh Prime Minister in 10 years, in a decade. Now, this is amazing that the country is going through this sort of crisis. Now, one of the things we want to ask also, if British prime ministers can resign, can be forced to resign, why can't our Caribbean leaders also be forced to resign? And that's the question we want to ask. Is that the Caribbean is in a state of affairs where our prime ministers and presidents possibly can do anything they want to do and they must not be forced to resign? I remember yesterday when I made the video about that Andrew Holness perhaps should be forced to resign, people were saying, no, that's nonsense, But are we creating a culture of unaccountability in the Caribbean where in the first world countries, in the metropolitan states, they are holding their prime ministers, their leaders to account? Or is just this shenanigan staged? From a Caribbean perspective, it also opens a discussion about Britain's continuing influence in the region, Commonwealth relations, trade, migration, and foreign policy. Now let's look at the article by the BBC, which suggests that Keir Starmer is right now, he has resigned. Starmer quits as Labour leader and paves way for contest for new Prime Minister. And it says here, Sir Keir Starmer has said he will quit as Labour Party leader, paving the way for a contest to decide a new Prime Minister. Now, speaking in Downing Street, Sir Keir said he accepted he was not best placed to lead Labour into the next general election, and he had informed the King of his decision to step down. Sir Keir added he has asked Labour's governing body to set out a timetable to replace him, with nominations opening on July 9th and ending by the summer recess on July 16th. He said if there was a contest, then a new leader would be in place before Parliament returns in September, and he will do everything he can to ensure an orderly transition of power. Sir Keir said he would remain as Prime Minister until the leadership contest is complete. He added he will also give his successor my full and unequivocal support, knowing that they will inherit a Britain that is far stronger and fairer than the one I inherited 2 years ago. Andy Burnham, I think is the one that they are going to put in office, is regarded by many as the front runner to replace Sir Keir after he secured an emphatic win over his Reform UK rival in last week's Makerfield by-election. Burnham announced on Monday that he would put himself forward as a candidate in the leadership contest before he boarded a train to London. So we're seeing a lot of upheavals around the world, including in the so-called democratic realm. Now, what does this say for us in terms of here in the Caribbean region? I think it says a lot. I think what it's implying is that people are not really happy with what is happening in the realm of politics, right? And that is what we have to be very, very, very much, definitive on, that people are just not happy with the political condition in the Western Hemisphere. People are the leaders are losing their grip on excellent leaderships. We can call them misleaders because people have no faith in them, and that is why the papers are reporting that Britain has had how many prime ministers? They said 7 in a decade. Now that's a lot to be having in a decade. 7 prime ministers in a decade is just a lot to be having. Now we're going to move into right now our topic at hand, right, which is talking about the Jamaica TCNs, right, the what we call third country nationals. Welcome to the live. According to reporting from early 2025, the U.S. reportedly paid approximately 32 million US dollars to 5 countries to accept around 300 deportees, many of whom could not easily be returned to their countries of origin. The countries mentioned in various reports included nations with significant governance and corruption concerns. Now, the controversy centered on several issues. The cost. Critics argued that spending tens of billions of dollars to relocate a few hundred people was an expensive use of taxpayers' funds. Now, my understanding is that sometimes they could spend 1 million on one person, right? Have that person relocate to that third country, and then they have them, after they've been spent some time in that third country, to go back to their country of origin or to go to another third country. And all of that money, that expenses, will have to be paid by taxpayers. This is something that we have to be very careful of. We are going to find ourselves where governments are overspending when they could have ensured that the person finds way back to his or her own country. Now, so we have some human rights concerns. Some advocacy groups questioned whether deportees would receive adequate legal protections and humane treatment in the receiving countries. Now, we have a very interesting article that we're going to look at because it is telling us exactly what is happening in these countries and surrounding the agreement. Now, we have transparency. Details of the agreements were not always publicly disclosed. They are mostly secretive, and that is what we have to understand. So we can't listen to anything the Prime Minister or ministers of government are suggesting or saying, because these deals were entered into secretively. Right? So we are just not in the know-how, and we are never going to be in the know-how, or, how they got this deal, how they arrived at these deals. Now, so we have, if the US paid other countries millions of dollars to accept deportees, what financial, diplomatic, or strategic arrangement exists between Jamaica's TCN agreement, and not only Jamaica's, but all other countries? Remember now that Jamaica is only being used as the blueprint, but other Caribbean countries are also on board, will be on board, and will have to accept it eventually. That doesn't prove Jamaica received any payment, but we're suggesting, but it does support asking what exactly is the agreement, which many people have been asking, and the government has not yet been able to furnish anybody with any credible, and substantive response. Now, who pays for housing, transportation, security, and administration? How many people are expected? Well, they're telling us that 25 persons per every 2 weeks should be expected to arrive in Jamaica. And what obligations has Jamaica accepted? This is what we have to also understand. Well, there's a lot of confusion surrounding the obligations. Some are suggesting that the agreement is one in which Jamaica will take third country nationals, while the United States will send skilled laborers to Jamaica. But that would be nonsense, right? Because who wants to go to Jamaica? Now, which skilled American laborer wants to retire or to work in Jamaica? It does not make any sense, right? None would want to do that, given the dollar is not the best. Jamaica is disorderly, right? We have lots of too many problems there. Why would they leave their country of origin to go to the United States to end up in Jamaica, right? It is not going to happen. And that could not be the rationale for them doing what they say they're doing. Now, my understanding of what Dana Dixon was suggesting, I could be wrong. She was suggesting that they have accepted the deal because in that America could send over those what you call third country nationals, and Jamaica could then the America could then accept some of our skilled laborers who can't find jobs. So that would make a little bit more rational, not vice versa, where skilled laborers are coming from the United States in exchange of deportees or third country nationals being sent to Jamaica. That would not make any sense. What would make more sense? But to me, the entire thing is also very, very confusing, because if Minister Dixon is suggesting, Dana Morrison Dixon is suggesting that the laborers would just go there for 6 months. Now, who's going to pick up themselves from Jamaica and go to the United States for 6 months? That doesn't make any sense. What benefit would a skilled laborer get? How would it be beneficial to him or her to go to the United States for only 6 months? It would not make any sense whatsoever. So we are being lied to right, left, and center. Now, let me just listen to a brief interaction here, and have you listen rather to a brief interaction between Minister, what's his name? Horace Chang, that's the Minister of National Security and Peace. Right? Dr. Horace Chang is now the Minister of National Security and Peace. So anybody that has to do with national security has to do with peace. Right? So it means, therefore, that if we disagree with what government tells us to do, then there can't be any peace, right? So the best thing to do is to exile us to probably a third country, which is going to happen, by the way, right? Those of you who don't think that is going to happen to you one day or to your family, I am telling you to watch out, because one day the government is going to wind up exiling you to wherever it wants to do. If this bill is passed, right, and we do not fight against it, then you and your children are going to wind up in places that you never knew you would have ever been in, right? Very important that we understand that. Now, let's now look at, I want to share this, this thing here with Dr. Horace Chang, and let me pull it up on the screen. And, you know, it just does not make any sense. The entire communication with government does not make any sense whatsoever. But this is how our leaders behave, and many of us also are not critical thinkers, so we just have to bear the consequences, and we're going to have to suffer the consequences. All right, so let me get this they put on the turn on the volume so you can hear it.
On this occasion, they are friends and they're seeking our assistance to resolve the problem.
The US's embassy.
Right.
Question, just seeking clarity. Did the US initiate contact with Jamaica regarding the TCN arrangement, or did a senior government official first communicate that Jamaica is amenable to such an agreement?
No, TCN is an American request. They have done so with several allies across the region and throughout the world. So it's their challenge that they're trying to resolve in a human way.
So we never suggested it. That
No, we couldn't suggest that. We don't have a problem. That's why we suggest.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, we don't have a problem. On this occasion, they are friends and they're seeking our assistance to resolve the problem.
Did the US at any time communicate that the arrangement could see Jamaica receiving up to 10,000 third country nationals?
No, there's no such discussion between the governments of Jamaica.
Through no communication at all?
No.
Okay.
Well, if somebody talked to them on the street, I don't know about that. I am responsible.
So we never suggested it. That
No, we couldn't suggest that. We don't have a problem.
Okay, so that's a very interesting sort of dialogue between that young miss and Dr. Horace Chang. But what is very interesting about that conversation is that first, he's saying that we don't have a problem. Now, whenever you're negotiating something, Jamaica has many problems. That's the first thing, right? We know we have a labor shortage where people, two things can be real and two things can be true. One, Jamaica has a labor shortage of skilled laborers. Why? Because many of these skilled people leave Jamaica because Jamaica cannot pay, does not pay them well, and they do not see Jamaica as a, what should I say now, a place that they can live and survive well. So they leave and they go to other territories. But it's also true that 80% of Jamaica's skilled labor force leave Jamaica per year. So the fact of the matter is that we have a problem, right? We have a problem, one, keeping skilled laborers. Secondly, we do have a problem of paying also the skilled laborers who could have been in Jamaica, lived in Jamaica, but decided not to do it because they think that Jamaica is not the best place in terms of economically being able to survive, and for many other reasons, right? So, but they're giving us now the illusion that this is just something that we don't have a problem, it's a US problem. Yes, we do have a problem, and that is why I think that there was some negotiation. So if you can resolve this problem for me, or can help me to resolve your problem, which of course would be the labor, the fact that we don't have jobs down there for these people who are graduating from universities and who are skilled, right? Then we can send them to the States, or some of them to the States, while the US is suggesting that it has some problem with people that it does not want to remain in its territory, right? And that this is something that we need to understand. Now, what Dr. Chang also failed to respond to, and the journalist did not try to, insist that he answer the question, was the fact that he was suggesting that, they're not deportees. While the U.S. Embassy is saying that they're deportees, all the U.S. journals, newspapers are suggesting that they're deportees, and some are even intimating, including Marco Rubio's, that they are criminals. But Jamaica is suggesting that they're neither criminals, neither are they deportees. They're just third country nationals. Now she's asking, the journalist is asking him, but the United States Embassy in Kingston suggests that they are deportees. And he just, right? And that question should have been insisted on. Could you answer why are the reports from the US? Why do they differ from the reports that Jamaica is giving to its people? These are the questions that we should be asking, but nobody wants to really ask them because they're afraid, right? They're afraid of the consequences, because we are understanding too that they're suggesting that any dissident voice, your visas could be revoked. So those are the rumors circulating online, that it's possible that your visa could be revoked. But let us look at the context of this. The Guardian newspaper is saying here, US paid $32 million to 5 countries to accept about 300 deportees, report shows. Now they're calling it what? Deportees, not third country nationals. Some of the world's most corrupt countries have received huge payments in third country deportation scheme. So they are calling it deportees, and Jamaica is calling it just third country nationals. Okay, good. The Trump administration has spent more than $1 million per person to deport some migrants to countries they have no connection to, only to see many sent back to their home nations at further taxpayers' expense, according to a new congressional investigation. A 30-page report, and we are going to look at that very shortly. A 30-page report from Senate Foreign Relations Committee Democrats released on Thursday, and that's coming from Congress, and shared with The Guardian details how the U.S. government paid more than $32 million to 5 foreign countries, or 5 foreign governments, including some of the world's most corrupt regimes, to accept approximately 300 third country nationals deported from the U.S. So they are deportees. But Dr. Chang of Jamaica and Dr. Andrew Holness are suggesting that they are not deportees. They're only third whatever you call them, nationals. They're third country nationals. In the most extreme case, the administration paid Rwanda $7.5 million plus an estimated 601,864 in flight costs to accept just 7 people. I repeat that. They've paid Rwanda how much? 7.5 plus an additional 601,864 in flight costs to accept just 7 people. Who are paying for that? U.S. taxpayers. About 1.1 million per person, according to the report's analysis of government spending, data, and flight records. The administration similarly paid Equatorial Guinea That's 7.5 million to take 29 people. So 7 people in Rwanda are paid 7.5, and in Equatorial Guinea, they're being paid the same amount of money for more people. Make that make sense? I don't know. Costing taxpayers an estimated 282,126 per person. Palau was paid 7.5 million with no documented flights, and Eswatini, and if we know what there's a country to which a Jamaican third country national, a Jamaican citizen was sent over there all the way to Eswatini. Eswatini was paid 5.1 million for 15 people, only for 15 people. 15 people, ladies and gentlemen. And El Salvador was paid 4.76 million for about 250 people. The committee staff indicated that the State Department is pursuing third country deportation agreements with 70 to 80 countries. So this is not just about Jamaica. With 70 to 80 countries, more than 80% of migrants sent to these third countries have already returned to their home nations or are in the process of doing so, the investigation found, raising the question as to why they were not deported directly in the first place. And those of us who are following the guy who was sent, Jamaican, citizen, well, he was a resident in the United States, a green card holder, who was sent to Eswatini. Jamaica did not, including the embassy in Jamaica. The government of Jamaica suggested that they did not reject that citizen, the man that was sent to Eswatini. So why are they giving us the illusion that because they are not accepted into their country or the country doesn't want to accept them, then they would have to send them to a third country? Nonsense. That is not true. The Trump administration is sometimes paying the country to take people, flying them there, and then paying to take them in their own home country. Now, does that make sense, ladies and gentlemen? Why would you fly someone to a third country and then get up tomorrow and pay an additional cost to fly them to their own country? Does that make any sense? But this is what the Trump administration is doing and being reported here in a mainstream media newspaper. It doesn't make sense. Of course it doesn't. One current U.S. official told committee staff, according to the report, which is the first of its kind under the second Trump administration, this is a scarce tactic for them to be able to tell people here in the United States, if you do not self-deport, you could get sent to South Sudan. So that is a good explanation that this could be one of the agendas to scare people, go home, or you are going to go to a third country, and we can't guarantee you that they might not actually treat you badly, torture you. You could get sent to Eswatini, a member of the committee told The Guardian. I really think that this is a huge driving factor, both for the pace and the way in which they've been carrying this out. But I think this is more than that. The practice has also resulted in the U.S. government paying twice for some deportees' travel, twice, paid by taxpayers. In one case, a Jamaican national was sent to the southern African nation of Eswatini at an estimated cost of more than $181,000 US, only to be flown back to Jamaica on US-funded flights weeks later. What does that make any sense? The Jamaican government publicly stated it had not refused. I repeat that. The Jamaican government publicly stated it had not refused the return of any of our nationals. But Trump sent him all the way to that country, contradicting administration claims that third countries are only used when home governments refuse to accept deportees back. So this is just more than the deportee, rationale that they're giving to us, justification. It is more than that. We spent so much of last year hearing about how we have to cut costs or waste and all of that. The Dodge, remember the Doge or whatever you call it, right? That we are going to cut costs. They're not cutting costs. We have to cut spending, said the member. We're now spending millions of dollars on foreign assistance on both, health saving dollars for child care and maternity health and diseases and epidemics and famine around the world, but we are spending it on this. So what I think that they're doing, they're militarizing these countries. That is exactly what they're doing. The report identifies a lack of oversight for the millions of dollars sent to foreign governments. So we don't know how much let us say Jamaica is accepting 4 million. We do not know if that is the sum total. Or when they say that Rwanda accepted 7.5 million, it could be double, could be triple, we don't know. Several of which have documented records of corruption and human rights abuses. Equatorial Guinea, which received 7.5 million to accept 29 people, ranks 172 out of 182 countries for corruption. 172 out of 182 countries for corruption, according to Transparency International. The payment exceeds all U.S. assistance provided to the country over the previous 8 years combined. So this is the sort of lack of transparency that we are hearing about. This is bigger than what they're telling us, ladies and gentlemen. We now have to say no, because we don't know tomorrow what they could be doing, right? What they could be doing to you and your children. This is not just about deportees. Ladies and gentlemen, this has more to do with just sending some people to Jamaica or to Trinidad or wherever they will wind up sending them to. Now, the Foreign Relations Committee, and this is out of Congress. I might share this document with you. Or should I? You want me to share this document? Let me share this document with you so that we can go through this document together and we can look at what they're saying. This is coming out of Congress. So this is not something that I'm making up, right? Certainly not. Okay, this is coming out of Congress itself. So let me get into the weeds of the matter, share it with you. Make sure you're sharing the live, because this is a very important conversation, because many of us could wind up as third country nationals, not only for us, but also for U.S. citizens. Did I put it on the stage? Let me get it on the stage. All right, so let's look at what this document has to say to us, right? Are you seeing the document? Can you see the document, ladies and gentlemen? Okay, so we have here the Trump administration is informed by a 10-month review of agreements, right? Known deals and third country deportations through January 2026. Staff traveled to relevant countries and meetings and communications with current U.S. officials, foreign government officials, human rights organizations, deportees, and attorneys. They're calling the word here, deportees. Wake up. This report finds that the Trump administration has expanded and institutionalized a system in which the United States urges or coerces countries. They urge you or they what? Coerce you to accept migrants who are not their citizens, often through arrangements that are costly, wasteful, and poorly monitored. It catalogs the costly and ineffective operations, waste of taxpayer funds through unnecessary removals concerning lack of oversight on U.S. funds to foreign governments, and secret deals that do not serve American interests. Taken together, these actions have created an expensive and dangerous form of shadow diplomacy that prioritizes the appearance of toughness over the security of Americans. This report outlines the troubling practice by the Trump administration of deporting individuals to third countries, places where these people have no connection, at great expense to the American taxpayer, and raises serious questions, right? Said Ranking Member Shaheen. Through its third country deportation deals, the Trump administration is putting millions of taxpayer dollars into the hands of foreign governments. Millions, while turning a blind eye to the human costs and potentially undermining our diplomatic relationships. For an administration that claims to be reigning in fraud, waste, and abuse through Dodge, this policy is the epitome of all three. So they waste money on what they want to waste money on. The report comes as the administration is aggressively seeking to strip hundreds of thousands of migrants of legal status in the United States through the ending of temporary protected status and humanitarian parole, among other avenues, increasing the risk of expanded third country deportations. So they are deportees, whether Andrew Holness wants to accept it or not. This report identifies 6 central ways in which the administration's use of third country deportations has undermined U.S. interests. 1, expensive and ineffective operations. The administration has spent tens of thousands of dollars to move a relatively small number of migrants to third countries, in some cases paying more than $1 million per person with little measurable impact on its deportation agenda, needlessly wasting taxpayers' funds. In many cases, migrants could have been returned directly to their home countries, avoiding costly third country deportations. As of January 2026, more than 80% of the migrants sent to third countries paid by the United States to take them in have already returned to their country of origin or are in the process of doing so. How many percent? What percent? This 80%. 80%. So they eventually wind up in their own countries, while the US is paying it for them to go to third countries and then to shuttle them, to fly them from these third country or countries back to their own countries of origin. Does this make any sense? Does this make any sense to you? In some cases, the US paid to fly migrants to third countries only to later pay again for them to fly to their own home country. Right? This is the sort of nonsense that is coming from our governments. And people are being deceived, right, left, and center, providing money to corrupt governments without oversight. The United States has sent more than $32 million to foreign governments in direct connection with third country deportation deals. They're not just saying third country nationals, they're saying third country deportation. They are deportees, including those with records of corruption, human rights abuses, and human trafficking, without monitoring how the money is used or whether taxpayers' funds are being used to facilitate corruption, human rights abuses, or human trafficking. It is unclear how much additional U.S. funding is being redirected to indirectly support these deals. Okay? Now, failure to monitor and enforce agreements. The State Department, listen to what they're saying here. The State Department is not tracking foreign government compliance with diplomatic assurances or enforcing agreement terms, even where evidence suggests foreign governments are violating their commitments. In at least one country, U.S. officials told committee staff that they were instructed by the Trump administration officials to not follow up on how deportees were being treated. So they can torture you. They can treat you anyhow they want to treat you. Now, this is what should scare the life out of you. Secret deals that do not serve American interests. I repeat that, and I want you to listen to what I'm going to say, or what they're saying, not what I'm saying, but what they're saying under this heading. Third country deportation agreements have become a central feature of U.S. bilateral relations, involving cash payments, political concessions, and coercion, without transparency about the full extent of what the United States is giving in return or the pressures it is exerting. In addition, the administration is making secret deals with adversarial regimes such as Iran. Such as what? Such as Iran. But aren't they in a war? Aren't the United States and Iran in a war? But they're making secret deals to accept their nationals back. But the war is ongoing, isn't it? Circumventing U.S. immigration law, evidence suggests that the administration is using third countries to carry out removals that US law would otherwise prohibit, which means that you can be sent, whether you're a citizen or not, because they are not going to be no longer law abiding. Very important that you understand this, such as sending protected individuals onward to countries where they may face persecution or death. This is serious. This is something that we have to look at, because this is going to affect all of us. All of us. All of us are going to be affected by this sort of secretive arrangement, including with Iran. So some of you are following these news, and you think that the United States and who is going to win the war, you are going to lose the war, because they are going to be able to exile you if they find whatever you're doing, whether it's a pandemic or whatever you say that they don't want you to say. They are going to send you to third countries. Anywhere they send you to, you have to go, and they're going to torture you, because it's not law-abiding. All of what we're seeing are secretive. But yet the war is unfolding against Iran. But the United States is in secretive dealing with adversaries, perhaps even with Cuba. Who to tell? We don't know. While they're telling us that they are at war, and you believe that these countries represent for you peace and safety, and none of them represent that for you, but you have to wake up. Let us look at what some of you are saying, because I don't want to be the lecturer here. I want you to participate in this afternoon's program, because this is one of the most important programs that we're having. Yes, and Alice Brackett is saying, I find it strange that the information minister is saying the details of the agreement is not yet final. How is this possible? How can they sign an MOU if all the details are not yet decided? Because they can't tell you what the details really are. And it will never be final. It will never be final. That is what they can do just to hide. It is secretive, and that is why they have to tell you that the details are never going to be that. Takwe, yes, bless up. Good afternoon, everyone, and make sure you're sharing the live so that we can have this. This is to push this live, because people need to hear that beyond these wars that we're seeing happening in the world, our governments are really working against us. Donald Trump says that America's jobs are for Americans. They're deporting our nationals back home, people who only want to earn an honest living. But that is just one part of the deal, Alice. The part that I'm suggesting to you is that they're building an international infrastructure. Remember now that he has this with over 80 countries, and they're saying here in the Foreign Affairs, in the Foreign Relations Committee, they're saying that all of these agreements are not legally binding. Right, and what they say at the end. Let me reread what they said in the end paragraph, just for you to hear. Right, circumventing U.S. immigration law. Evidence suggests the administration is using third countries to carry out removals that U.S. law would otherwise prohibit, such as sending protected individuals. Could be a citizen, green card holder, protected individuals onward to countries where they may face persecution or death. So nothing that they're doing here now is legal, is lawful. It might be legal, but it's not lawful. It's not going to be lawful. They're going to sign the laws, so it's going to be legal, but it is not going to be lawful. It's not going to be constitutional. Now, so we have become the dumping heap of America because of greed. Not only us, as we're seeing with Rwanda, we're seeing other countries in Africa also, and they're in agreement in Iran, right? In Iran, countries like the likes of Iran, right? So this is what we have to look at. So it's not only a Jamaican situation, it is a situation that is going to happen throughout the world. We have to now think globally, and that's what I'm trying to train your minds to think. Not to think outside that this is just happening in Trinidad or it's happening in Jamaica, but it's a global agenda. Jamaica believes it has no choice but to do what the USA says. All countries, most countries do. And that is what is happening. That most countries do believe that they cannot, because as they're saying here in the foreign affairs document, the foreign relations document, they're suggesting that the United States is coercing, urging or coercing, forcing them, putting pressure on them. And if you don't do it, then this is what is going to happen. And the governments are submitting. Right? I'm not here to try to scare you. What I'm suggesting here to you is that you're not living in ordinary times. This is not ordinary times, and this is not just about Jamaica. This is about a global agenda, and this is what we're trying to unmask. Now, the life of Dell is suggesting you cannot trust the Americans. Jamaica is going to suffer in the future. Absolutely. Jamaica's going to suffer. I mean, he's already suffering, but we haven't seen the lights. This is a mess, right? And I think that more people are going to suffer than they can even imagine. All right, and those people abroad too are going to find themselves that the U.S. is going to be able to send them away, even when they are they're legal there, but the protections will be removed. Good afternoon, David Frater. Remember that Peter Phillips did sign MOU 2010 with USA, even without the Prime Minister's knowledge. Yes, I'm happy that you're bringing that to the front. That a lot of things happen and they're secretive, and they're telling us that all of these documents are secretive documents, right? The MOUs are secretive. So we will never know. You and I will never know what is inside of them. What we have to look at are their arguments, and their arguments are falling. Some are suggesting that they're not deportees. Some are suggesting that they're third country nationals. Some are suggesting that they might be skilled workers being sent from Jamaica to the United States. Some are suggesting that there are skilled workers sent from the US to Jamaica. It does not make any sense. It's just confusion upon confusion. And the more they speak is the more it sounds even more confusing. The more Dr. Chang opens his mouth, I would say, shut up, because you're not saying things, because you're actually confusing the people, and you're contradicting what you said yesterday. So we have to look at these things. And when people begin to talk like that out of three sides of their mouth, we know that something is awry, something is wrong, and that we cannot trust them. And we need to insist that something has to happen, or not, we are going to have to suffer. Now, it doesn't mean, therefore, too, that you and I living wherever we are cannot be transferred to third countries. This is not only about Americans, too, if you're in America. You can also be transferred from Jamaica eventually. If this becomes law in the United States, it's going to be transferable to all countries, in which you can be in Barbados or Trinidad or Antigua or Jamaica, and they can send you to a third country if you are disrupting the program. If you are disrupting the program and they have agreements with each other, then they can send you to a third country. All right, so we have to also move outside, think global, and realize that this is an international global movement. It's not just Jamaica, and everything is going to be, oh, I'm safe. And that is how we think as a people, and governments control us, because we only think about ourselves. We think this is just, oh, that person, Venezuela time. I'm not thinking about Venezuela. Let Maduro, whatever, do what he needs, and then you are next, right? And then you are next. And what will you say? Now, what did you say about sending those people to the most corrupt countries? What they're saying is that they're sending these people, some of these people, you would have thought that the United States wants to send people, it said that it's a country of democracy, which we know that it isn't, so that it will be sending people to countries which are decent, and which we think are, allies of the United States, and according to them, has good human rights standard. What the document is suggesting is that no, they're sending they'll send you to countries that are also corrupt, where torturing is done, anything can be done to you, and you and I, or your parents, or your relatives, your friends, will never know what is happening to you in those countries to which you're being sent. Okay? So move beyond deportees. That might be the first, thing that the first iteration, but they will eventually move on to other aspects of the agreement. Now, Jesus is saying, did Valiant shame the church by doing that dirty video on the church? Who is Valiant? Yeah, who is Valiant? I'm not sure who you're referring to as Valiant. Can you explain for me? Yeah, so this is what we are facing. We're faced with in today's reality. Now, there is a document I have here that is quite also interesting. Who deported more migrants, Obama or Trump? And they're saying here, we check the numbers. The Obama administration deported more immigrants than any other government in the last 30 years. Official figures analyzed by Fact Chequeado shows. So in 8 years, it accumulated 2.7, that was 2,749,706 deportations, an average of 942 per day in 2012. So Obama deported 942 persons per day in 2012. The daily average reached 1,123, the highest of his term. Trump's second administration is still ongoing, and a definitive comparison is not yet possible. So he might outdo him at the end of his term. But his administration has already reached an average of 1,090 deportations per day, and versus Obama had 1,123 per day in 2012, between January 20, 2025 and March 10th, 2026. So it's likely that Trump might outdo Obama at the end of his administration. So in total, 452,491 deportations in that period, according to the new ICE data obtained by the Deportation Data Project. If the trend continues, it could become the administration with the most recorded deportations. But Obama's immigration policy, especially in his second term, prioritized the deportation of people with criminal records. So Obama deported many criminals, and there were some hardcore criminals, back to other countries, and people were already crying out even during his administration. If you remember, people were saying, but guess what? Most of these people, went to the United States when they were children, and they honed those sort of hard criminal elements and characteristics right there on U.S. soil. But Obama didn't care about that. So the other day he went to have his, presidential library opened, and many of you probably were crying. The wonderful speech from Michelle Obama, right? And you see them, crossing their legs and they look important. But remember now that they also are a huge part of what Trump has inherited. Very important that you understand these things. Under Trump, only 29% of deported people had a criminal conviction. Only 29%. Most had no criminal record, right? Now, what can we say when we hear these things? Who is better? Is Obama better or is it Trump? I want you to answer that from that context. Obama was sending more criminals back to their country of origin. Now, Trump is suggesting that he's sending them to third countries. He doesn't know what he's doing, does he? But the fact of the matter, who is better, Trump or Obama? And I want you to be objective. So America is suggesting that Jamaica is corrupt. They're suggesting that any country that doesn't do their bidding is corrupt, even though the U.S. is the most corrupt country probably on the earth. But the fact of the matter is that that United States, if you don't practice their brand of corruption, if you don't do what they tell you to do, then they're going to describe you as being the most corrupt, right? Mr. Golding said he would be in agreement with the action the PM took as allies of the USA. We are not allies, all right? Don't let nobody fool you that we're allies. We are just pawns, right? The United States only uses us to accomplish its own political, economic, interests. But it's not our allies. The United States is not our ally. And even if even if the United States were our ally, we cannot agree with wrong. We must stand up for that which is right, though the heavens fall. So I hear that that's what Dr. Chang is reporting every time. Oh, they're our allies, and they're our greatest allies, and we have to do this, we have to do that. No, you don't have to do it. If you are a person of integrity and you prioritize doing that which is right. And Golding should shut up, because Golding really doesn't have any sort of integrity, if you will. I think Golding should just shut up at the moment. He should have nothing to say. USA can't call any country corrupt, absolutely, but they do because they use what? They use the pulpit of the bully of the what now? The country that has the strongest military. That is what they do so that they can control the people there. Speaking on this, is this third country nationals? Is this a distraction from the Wheatley corruption scandal? I think you have it the opposite. The Wheatley corruption scandal is a distraction. This is what we have to do. But talking about who initiated, where I think the distraction is Jesus, if you should ask me. Talking about who initiated the conversation, that is a distraction. Because that's not important. The what is important is why are we having these people coming to the country? And what is the agreement, right? Have we going down the rabbit hole about who initiated it from who didn't, and is the US did it or Jamaica did it? But certainly Wheatley is absolutely nothing to talk about, really, because corruption is everywhere in Jamaica. It's a system, it's systemic. Right, and whether it's Andrew Holness or it's Wheatley today or it's Mark Golding tomorrow, it continues unabated because the system permits it, and that's what we're here to discover. The system permits it, but they use it as a means of shielding our attention from more substantive information, and that we will not say is the system. We're looking at somebody. Oh, it's Andrew Holness. Oh, it's Mark Golding. Oh, it's Andrew Wheatley, and we don't say it's the system that has to go. That is what we need to look at. The system, the entire system is rotten to the core. Now, do you think that this deportation just a distraction from the Dr. Wheatley corruption scandal? No, I don't. Because this is something that is going to happen. We are already seeing that in Kenya, the United States wanted to build an Ebola, quarantine center in Kenya. Why are they going to these countries and building up these things and telling us that who we should accept from who we should not accept? Why aren't they allowing countries to do what they need to do to build the country for their citizens? Why do we have to have quarantine labs or centers for U.S. citizens? Right? Why are we hosting U.S. U.S. deportees? Why? These are so we have to connect the dots. The same thing being done in Haiti, the same thing being done in Kenya, in the Congo, DR Congo, and all over the world. Remember, this is with 80 countries. So this is not a distraction. The distraction is when we think it's only Jamaica, where we think it might be just domestic and it's going to affect Jamaica. It's not going to affect the entire globe. It's going to affect the entire Caribbean region. This is now where it might just be distraction. But this is something where they're telling us that this program is to remove all the legal, protections from citizens, which means, therefore, that if they grab you, you can't be defended by a lawyer. You just have to go. Right? They send you to a third country. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? So how is this a distraction? It can't be a distraction. Right? I would think that the Wheatley program is more of a distraction because that is not global. Corruption is everybody knows that Andrew Wheatley is corrupt. Everybody knows Andrew Holness is corrupt. Everybody knows that Trump is corrupt. It's just the magnitude that we have not heard. So once in a blue moon, they will tell you that this person is more corrupt than the other, and you follow it, and you like the gossips, and you move down the road, and then 9-day wonder, and it comes back. But this is something that they're building. This infrastructure that they're building is to control the entire citizens of the world. So that, you ever heard you won't be able to buy or sell? Yes. This is the infrastructure that is being laid for all mankind, right? So wake up. This is but they're using now the deportee as a pretext to say, oh, we want law and order. But do they want law and order? When, as you saw, that they're giving millions of dollars to corrupt governments, right? While they're spending double, sometimes triple the amount of money that they would spend to deport the person back to their country of origin. They're spending 3 times the amount of money. And then eventually they have to fly them back to their country of origin. Does that make any sense to you? And I want us to begin now to think. Make sure you're liking the live and you're sharing the live with people so the algorithm will be pushed to push the video along, right? It doesn't want to push the video, so we have to force it because these conversations are the conversations that we need at the moment. Very soon these videos won't be up on YouTube, I can tell you that. They won't be up. They won't have us online. We can't talk about these things. Maybe I won't even see you because you'll be probably in a third country. Don't exile somewhere. I don't know where you are. Okay, so we have to begin now to think, and it's not that I'm trying to scare you, it's just what they're saying. I'm not even telling you what I'm thinking, even though I'm doing, but the fact of the matter is that I'm reading to you from their own mouth that this is the agenda. Let me repeat it again. Let me repeat what the foreign affairs, it says, circumventing U.S. immigration law. Evidence suggests the administration is using third countries to carry out removals that U.S. law would otherwise prohibit. Prohibit means not allow, such as sending protected individuals onward to countries where they may face persecution or death. Persecution or death. And that is why what's his name, Dr. Horace Chang, is suggesting that they're not criminals, because maybe they're not. What if they should put you and I tomorrow in prison because we said the wrong thing? We're not criminals, but they might brand us as criminals, right? And then next they send us to a third country. We don't know where we are and what is happening to us. We might just be placed in a dungeon, right? And or rights or human rights, so-called, are abused or violated. Right? These are what we have to discuss, and I'm not hearing the depth of the conversation in this region. We're just, surfacing, skimming the topic, as it were. People are not talking about it in depth, and as a result of that, but that's what you like anyway. So I think you get what you deserve, and the government will be able to do whatever it wants to do to you at whatever time it wants to do to you. It's what it is. All right, so that is what we are seeing happening in the region, and it's something that we have to face and to come to grips with. Why are they spending so much money? Now, the first question we have to ask Jamaica is, how much money did they get? How much money did Andrew Holness money receive from this agreement? That's the first question we should ask, because we know that Rwanda got money. The Equatorial Guinea got money, got millions of dollars. How much money did Jamaica receive to accept these third country nationals, right? That's the first question. Where is this money going, right? Is it going to the government, or does it go to private interests? Because it might be to do something completely else than what they're saying, because obviously the taxpayers are spending the money, and we don't know if our taxpayers have to spend any of their money. We understand that American taxpayers have to pay, but we don't know if Jamaican taxpayers will have to also foot the expenses of housing, among other costs. We don't know. These are still things that are unknown. Now, Alice is saying, in America's eyes, we are among the most corrupt nations. It is therefore means they can have a repeat of the Venezuela scenario, and Carrie Lake, the new ambassador to Jamaica, right? And this is something we have to look at with Carrie Lake. Carrie Lake is going to Jamaica to create a storm between Jamaica and the Chinese, right? She is, if confirmed, is she confirmed yet? But if confirmed, she's going to be the new ambassador to Jamaica. And already persons online, even Americans, lots of Americans are saying to Jamaicans, good luck, because they know who she is. They know that she's not going to be a good news for Jamaica. She's not going to be good news for Jamaica, right? And we understand that they are already, but let us also reason with intelligence, reason with balance, because as I said here in the document, and let me repeat it so you can remember. Sometimes you forget, and sometimes I forget too. Secret deals that do not serve American interests. Third country deportation agreements have become a central feature of U.S. bilateral relations involving cash payments, political concessions, and coercion, without transparency about the full extent of what the United States is giving in return or the pressures it is exerting. In addition, the administration is making secret deals with adversarials, which means enemy. So you think that Iran and the United States are enemies, but he said that it's making secret deals with adversarial regimes such as Iran to accept their nationals back. So even with Iran, the United States is in current agreement with them about this third country nationals, right? So when it says corrupt, the United States is just saying these things so you can accept her as the moral country and you will accept whatever agenda she has. But she knows herself that she is not corrupt. She's not morally upright. She knows. But people are so, what should I say, malleable that they are going to believe anything they see and hear on US media and in the media in general. So she can behave that way. So it would be best for Jamaica to comply with US demands. She clearly stated their intentions buttered by lies. Now, if Jamaica complies with US demands, it's not going to be well for us. And if they don't comply, it's not going to be good for us. So what's the question? Because if we do comply, then we can, anything that the United States requires, then we have to do. Even if it's selling our soul to the devil, then we have to do it. Even requesting a citizen that might not be, a criminal. So if the US goes down and say, I want this person because this person was online talking against me, then Jamaica will have to send that person. So that's why we have to be careful when we say that let the United States comply, let Jamaica comply and do anything the US requests, because it could be you, it could be your children, it could be one of your family members that the United States demand that be sent, even though you did not do anything and you're not a criminal. But the United States might say you are. And because of these agreements, then you would have to. Again, ladies and gentlemen, we do not know what these the conditionalities, the conditions rather, of the memorandum, the MOU is. We don't know. They are secretive. These are secretive sort of negotiations, agreements, arrangements that we have to monitor, right? So this is what I wanted to present to you this afternoon, because it's something that we have to delve into. But this is a business, and this is something that this is a business. This is nothing more than a business. I saw this piece of news item today, and I thought that it would be interesting to share it with you, coming from the Jamaica Observer. And it's saying here, Dr. Chang is also another, he's quite popular, and he's all over the place chatting nonsense. But he's here saying, brace yourselves, brace for AI-related cyber attacks, expert warns, right? So they're telling us that we have to, while everything is happening, brace yourselves for cyber attacks, because cyber attacks is coming, and it's going to be AI cyber attacks. So please listen to what they're here suggesting, and hope that you will be monitoring and making sure that your environment is protected. Now, Chief Cybersecurity Expert at the major organized crime and anti-corruption agency, Dr. Patrick Linton, is warning that Jamaica should brace for an avoidable. So Jamaica is under attack from multiple levels. Why is this thing coming up and I'm not able to get it off my screen? So yeah, you freeze up again. I have to wait on you. Okay, good. Now, so Chief Cybersecurity Expert at the major organized crime and anti-corruption agency, MOCA, Dr. Patrick Linton, is warning that Jamaica should brace for an unavoidable surge in cyber attacks driven by artificial intelligence, AI, even as the country records significant gains, both traditional and digital crime. Speaking in public safety at the 11th Biennial Jamaica Diaspora Conference at the Montego Bay Convention Center last Tuesday, Linton said the evolution of technology and deeper internet penetration have created fertile ground for increasingly sophisticated cyber threats. As crime fell in the physical realm, the commissioner is saying, as the commissioner's representative said, and the minister, it has also risen on your screens. So we have to now look out for crimes on our screens. We have been seeing a proliferation of cyber crimes and cyber incidents, Linton said. But he cautioned that the next frontier will be AI-enabled cybercrime, which he said could dramatically increase both the scale and sophistication of attacks facing Jamaica and the wider world. And I'm going to ask you some questions after I read this article because, we have to think, we are going to be seeing a proliferation of cyber attacks that are now associated with AI perpetrated type cyber attacks. So we require persons to understand what's happening. He said MOCA is now moving to strengthen public resilience by expanding consciousness campaigns and embedding cybercrime education into learning institutions, churches, and other social facilities. So even the churches are going to be up against cybercrime. We're going to be beefing up our awareness sessions or institutionalization of cybercrimes in schools, universities, right? Every place will have to be sensitized, right? And brainwashed into this AI perpetrated cyber crimes. Highlighting his experience from 2 decades ago, Linton reflected on his visit to South Korea. This is what he's saying here. South Korea, where authorities were already battling thousands of cyber attacks daily, which many Jamaicans at the time thought unimaginable. I recall 20 years ago when I went to Korea, they had like 16,000 cyber attacks per day. And by that time, he's saying, I came back to Jamaica, persons were like, we're not going to be seeing that kind of thing. That's the way. Now, I would like to ask all of you here online, what if the AI perpetrated cyber crime? What if they are planning that AI will be the person to determine, or the technology to determine? My computer is frozen. Hope that, are you hearing me, guys? That the cyber crime. What if the cyber crime? I'm suggesting. What if the AI will be identifying who the criminal elements are? Right. That's what I want to say. What if the AI perpetrated crime, the AI system will be the ones to determine who the criminals are and who should go to third countries. Now, this is what we need to be aware of. AI is taken over. So AI soon will be telling who are the criminals, identifying for governments who the criminals are, right? Now, if that happens, and when it does happen, I don't think it's if it's going to happen, I think it's when it's going to happen, what are we going to do? Right? What are we going to do? Yeah, my computer is frozen now. I don't just what are because AI said that we're criminals when we're not criminals, right? So this is what we have to think about. Right. Talk about cyber attack. Talk about cyber attack. So we're going to get more cyber attacks as the time goes by. Now, where did we leave off? It would be good for Jamaicans to comply. Right. So that's it. We talked about the cyber attacks and all of that. So if there's nothing more to talk about, we can end the slide. Do we any more comments, questions that we want? I would allow you now to ask your comments and to make your comments. Right. Think that I have presented what I should have presented. Make sure you're liking the live and you're sharing it with others so that they can learn from what is happening around the world. We are going to be, the last one I was reporting on was cyber attack, and we are going to see many more of that on lives and other things as we move forward. Now, let's, any comments, any other further comments? Any further comments? Questions? The floor, I give you now the floor to ask me your comments. I think that I have chatted a lot, and you are the ones now who will ask me your questions, make your comments and suggestions, recommendations, because this is a very important live in on. This is nothing to laugh about. We are heading in dangerous seas, and it's going to take a lot of thinking, and we have to, press together, because at this point in time, any of us can be separate. We can be separated from each other very soon. We don't know, right? Based on what we're seeing, all of the legal frameworks, right? The legal protections that we could have relied on are being taken away from us, and they're being done secretively. And at the spur of the moment, overnight, and you can wake up tomorrow and you're in another country, or you are being told that you are being taken to another country, right? And you have absolutely no legal protections, right? Now, what are you going to do? Right? So that's where we're moving to, right? Questions? Comments? I thought you would have lots of comments over a topic that is so fevered and many people are opposing of, or you think that you're distracted by all the things happening in the media. All right, thank you so much for joining. Since you have no further questions, why waste time with you? So we will talk another time, and then we will think and organize another topic for another live discussion. Thank you so much for joining. All the best to you. See you in another one. Ciao.